guys everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy Walmart exclusive deluxe class Nightprowler. So before we take a look, let's take a look at the packaging. So on the front here we do have a nice artwork of a cheetah with some really nice red eyes. We have the Transformers Legacy logo. We have Transformers on the side. We also have on the other side here we do have a nice two shots of artwork of Nightprowler in his robot mode, looking very, very cool. One really close to his face and one more of a wide spread out picture. And of course, in the back, he transforms into 20 steps. There's a picture of his cheetah mode and his robot mode, looking very cool. And on the other side, we do have a nice legacy artwork of the Autobots. We have Optimus Prime, Hot Rod, RC, Blaster, and Bulkhead, and of course, Cybertron and Earth. And that's pretty much it for the packaging. So let's get into this review. So here we have Nightprowler in his robot mode. Let's take a look at the details. So we're going to start at the very top with this really cool looking head sculpt. Probably one of my favorite parts of this figure. We have some nice yellow there, some nice red for that Autobot symbol. We do have some nice gunmetal gray there. That looks pretty good. Also, this really, really nice lime green for the eyes. That looks really, really nice. And of course, the shoulder region here mostly picked out in some yellow, some nice dark gray for the elbow region, and of course the hand region, and some nice light gray for the forearms there, which looks pretty good. And of course, that same kind of light gray is really spread across this entire figure, but I think it still looks pretty good. For the chest region here, we do have, of course, the cheetah head. That looks pretty cool with some nice red eyes, and of course that repeating black dot pattern over the entire figure. Some nice black lines around the eyes. That looks pretty good. Some more black for the nose, which looks pretty good. And also there is some texturing where the ears are concerned, the side of his chest area, also on the legs there and on the back of the figure. And of course that will mostly come into play whenever he is in his alt mode, but still pretty cool to see in the robot mode. Getting to the lower part of the figure, of course, the waist section here is done in some nice yellow, a little bit of gray in that area, and of course the legs mostly done in that nice light gray, but also, of course, there's those black dots. We do have some spikes there, and you can see the little animal paws kind of folded up. I think it's still pretty cool. You can still see them. And of course, the feet, they're done in a very simple, nice light gray as well. And in the back, of course, you can see the other animal legs all folded up. Of course, you can have them like this, or you can kind of have them overlapping if you wanted to. There's several different ways you can actually store them. But of course, this is pretty much the exact same figure as the Kingdom Cheetor figure in Wave 1. There's really no sculpting changes, just a completely different color deco. And I have to say, probably this one's my favorite deco of all the versions so far. I have all the versions of this mold except the Netflix one, because I never really thought I needed it. I thought, it's just kind of a waste of $20, so I really never thought of picking it up. Maybe if I find it on clearance sometime, I'll get it. If you think it's worth to pick up that figure, let me know in the comment section down below. So it does come, of course, with one accessory, the same accessory that's come with all the other versions of this mold. It's a really cool kind of tail scythe weapon. I think it looks okay. Of course, it has that same repeating light gray and black dot pattern. My only complaint is I kind of wish the blade was a different color from the actual tail or handle section, because it kind of gets lost in all of the same color. I wish this was like silver or maybe black. That'd be pretty cool. But of course, you can have him wield this in several different ways. I've seen people have him hold it like this, which is sort of a whip sort of tail thing, which I guess is okay. Or of course you can have him hold it like this, like it's like a scythe, and he's ready to strike against the Predacons and Decepticons, which looks pretty cool in my opinion. But again, my only complaint is I wish that blade was a different color so it could stand out a little bit more, because right here it looks a little bit lost in all of the same colors with the figure and of course with the handle. But still, pretty good details for this figure. Again, we've used this mold quite a bit, so not the most interesting of the recently released Walmart exclusive, but still it's pretty cool to have in the collection, because I really do like the nice dark gray and yellow, and a little bit of gunmetal gray on the face. I really do like that mixture. I think it works pretty well. So I think that's pretty much it for the details and the accessories. I think we can get right into articulation. So for the head, it's on a ball joint, so it can look up, it can look a little bit down, and of course it can rotate all the way around. So unfortunately, of course, there's these panels here, so it does semi-block articulation, but there is a butterfly joint here. There's also, of course, a swivel here, and an elbow bend right here. There's also a swivel at the hand, And of course, there's also waist rotation, but it's slightly different with this figure. So what you're going to want to do is probably move these animal legs out of the way so you can have more clearance. So it can only move that way. It cannot actually do a full 360. So you have to move it this way and this way to actually have a rotation. It's kind of weird how they made it, but that's how it is with all the versions of this mold. So kind of odd, but still it's pretty good articulation for deluxe size figure. So now for the legs, of course, it can do the splits to a very good degree. It can kick forward, and kicking back is kind of different because there is this panel here, so it does slightly block it, so it does have to go out a little bit. There is, of course, a swivel, there is a knee bend, and, of course, an angle pivot to a very good degree. It's very tight. So overall, the same articulation as the other versions, Shadow Panther, Cheetor, I'm assuming, of course, the exact same as the Netflix version, so nothing crazy or different, so that's pretty much it for articulation and details. Let's get into a few comparisons, and I think we'll get right into transformation. Starting off with comparisons, here we have Cheetor from Kingdom Wave 1. We, of course, also have Walmart exclusive Legacy Deluxe Class Nightprowler. We also have Wave 4 Shadow Panther. So, of course, as you can see, they're all very, very similar. The only change, of course, between these two and Shadow Panther here is, of course, that brand new mutant head sculpt. But, of course, between these two, they are pretty much the exact same figure. Same accessory with all three of them, just a completely different deco for each. And, of course, these two are Autobots or Maximals, and this one is a Predacon. Between these three, of course, you can also include the Netflix version. Which one is your favorite? I'd probably have to either pick Nightprowler or Shadow Panther. I'm kind of a little bit in between them both. They each have some pros and cons. I'd really have to say, probably I would straight away pick Nightprowler. It's just, I really wish his scythe was painted a little bit different so the blade could stick out more. Kind of like, as you can see, Cheetor here and Shadow Panther, the blade is a different color. It's blue on Cheetor and silver on Shadow Panther, so I kind of wish the blade was like yellow maybe or red. I think that'd be pretty cool. Not really sure why they just kind of left it unpainted or just the same kind of gray boring color. So slight drawback with the accessory, but overall still a pretty cool figure. Again, let me know in the comment section below which one is your favorite of the 4 versions of this mold. I only have 3. I don't have the Netflix one. I don't really think I need to get it, but who knows, maybe I could change my mind in the future. Let's move on to some more comparisons. Here for some more comparisons, here we have Buzzsaw, Nightprowler, and Sandstorm. I actually already did review Sandstorm, so if you missed that review after you watch this one, go check that one out. And of course, I will review Buzzsaw very, very soon. So of course, all these 3 here are their little, repaint mates. This is a little sub-line, Walmart exclusive line. I actually really suggest you get all 3. All of them are, of course, not perfect. I would say probably my favorite is definitely Sandstorm. He just has the most creativity put into the figure. I think they put a lot of work into him, and in my opinion, he's just the best figure overall in general. I really do like Buzzsaw. I guess my only complaint would be the accessories not the greatest, and of course, as I said before, this mold, this figure, Nightprowler, is cool, but I would have to say he's probably the least interesting of the bunch because they've had about 4 repaints of him. They've only had one other version of Buzzsaw and only one other version of Sandstorm, of course, that being Scorponok and Waspinator, and those figures were pretty good in my opinion. And of course, previous, experiences with the Cheetor mold were breakage, a lot of stress and problems, so not the best history with it, but as this figure stands alone, it's still a pretty good one that I do recommend to put into the collection. Of these 3 here, which one do you like the most? Will you be getting this whole subline, or just picking out 1 or 2 that you like the most? Let's move on to some more comparisons. Here we have another quick Legacy Wave 1 comparison and Buzzworthy Bumblebee comparison. Here we have RC, Nightprowler, and Silver Streak from the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. So I'd say probably Nightprowler and RC are pretty much about the same size. I do have her blades on them, which do add a little bit of chunkiness to her. Also, of course, the wheels on the back, if I took those off, they'd be pretty much about the same size. Of course, Silver Streak here, he's pretty much a little bit chunkier. He's almost a Voyager size figure. So, yeah, 3 pretty cool figures. I actually have not reviewed Silver Streak yet. I will make sure to do that very soon. I've actually caught behind on some of the figures to review, so make sure you stay tuned on the channel for that review, and also Kickback and Buzzsaw. But still 3 pretty cool characters that I actually do really like having in the collection. Let's move on to transformation. So now let's get into transformation for Nightprowler. Of course, if you have the other versions of this mold, Cheetor, Netflix Cheetor, or Shadow Panther, you know exactly what to do. It's very straightforward. So let's get right into it. So what you're going to want to do is tilt the head back, and then you can rotate it on this ball joint, and this will just sit flush just like that, very easily. And then you're going to move the arms up and out of the way. You can then get this panel here, and this will just go back like that. As you can see, there is a tab and a slot right there, and that's just how that works. Of course, go to the other side, move this panel back as well, and then what you can do is move the arms down. As you can see, there is a little notch right there, and there is this little slot, and that will just go right into place. Nice and flush. And then what you're going to want to do is get the hand here, rotate this all the way around. So you're going to want to have the open hand facing that way, and of course the opposite for the other side. So just rotate that around, have the open palm facing that way, out like that, and there we go. So I would advise a little bit of caution moving the animal head out, because several of my buddies have actually gotten this figure in other versions, and they've really rushed it, and they've actually broken a section here. They've actually broken this peg off, so be a little bit careful in there. I wouldn't advise, of course, too much caution. It's not super delicate, but several of my YouTuber buddies have actually accidentally done that. So what you can do, of course, is get the animal head, move it over the robot one, just like that. Of course, conceal it so you can close up the mouth, and then of course you can get both halves here and just close these up like that. It can take a little bit of, pressure, some pushing, aligning. There's a lot of tabs and slots. You might have to neaten stuff up in the end, and of course if they haven't already, you can bring this panel in, tab that into place, just like that, and there we go. Of course you can position these arms, or the animal legs, however you wish, like that. Then of course we can go to the back, so what you can do is bring in the robot mode feet, fold them in, and of course that will just push out the animal hind legs like that. And of course he needs a tail, so you just get his scythe weapon. There is a port and a peg. You can plug that right into place. And here we have Nightprowler in his animal mode, looking very, very cool. So yeah, pretty simple transformation. Let's take a look at the details. So here we have Nightprowler, and he is of course cheetah mode, looking very, very cool. Let's take a look at the details. So I really do like this nice, polka dot black on it. That looks really, really cool. And of course there's this really nice dark gray overall. The entire figure looks really, really cool. There's also this really interesting kind of grayish white mixture for the stomach region. That looks pretty good as well. Of course there's a darker gray for the paws there, with a really nice, talon detailing, or nail detailing, looking very, very good. Of course, the same detail repeated on all four paws, looking very, very nice. And, not, I would say, the most, interesting or detailed figure, because the detail is pretty much repeated over the entire figure, usually just tons of dots, of course, lots of gray, and of course you can see a little bit of yellow hinges here and there on the figure because it couldn't be covered, which it's okay. I was expecting that, because it was just like that with the other versions of this mold. But still, yeah, I really do like this animal mode. I really do like the red eyes, very menacing and scary. Honestly, if you looked at this, you could actually probably guess this would be a Predacon or a Decepticon, but it's actually an Autobot, which is kind of surprising, but still very, very cool. So let's get in one comparison, and then I will get into articulation for the alt mode. So I thought I would just bring out the original Cheetor. So very, very nice. And as you can see, of course, absolutely no mold changes, just a completely different color deco. Of course, black and yellow spots, and this one is gray and black spots. So very, very cool. Yes. So I think that's pretty much it for the comparison. Let's get into some articulation. So I'm just going to make it a little bit easier on me. I'm going to remove the tail so it doesn't, fall off, get in the way or anything like that. So I'm going to start at the back. So of course these are the robot mode legs. So there's actually quite a bit of articulation, so they can hinge this way. There's also a swivel, and of course there's a hinge here, back and forth. There's also a hinge here, and also, of course, there is a hinge at the paw itself. And it is a ball joint, so it can hinge, of course, all the way around. So pretty good articulation for the legs. I could have missed some because there is just so much for just hind legs of the animal mode. So let's get to the front, of course. So the paws on ball joints, so they can rotate all the way around. There is a hinge here, and of course, there is a hinge here, and there's also a ball joint here. So pretty good articulation for the front legs, and of course the mouth can open. And unfortunately, of course, the head, as we all know, which was the main complaint of the original Cheetor figure, there is no head articulation at all, which I'm really glad with the Ravage PulseCon figure they fixed that. He actually has articulation in his head, so kind of unfortunate this figure never was able to change, and improve that, unfortunate con of the figure. But of course, we were expecting it because it is just a repaint. They weren't going to completely, remake the entire figure from the down up, and of course, make this, feature available now, but it would really be nice maybe in a couple years if they refurbish this mold and do a little bit better, QC wise, because of course there's been breakage problems, maybe fix the head articulation and maybe do a little bit more accessories like the gut gun, and of course they could keep the scythe if they wanted to. But overall, a very cool looking panther cheetah, mode, very menacing with those red eyes. Overall looks pretty cool. So let me know which one is your favorite version of this mold in the comment section down below. Nightprowler, Shadow Panther, the Netflix Cheetor, or of course the Kingdom mainline Cheetor. So pretty much it. Let's get into the final thoughts. So now for the final thoughts for Nightprowler, I think overall it's just an okay figure. Starting in the robot mode, I really do like the nice light and dark gray black spots design to it. It looks pretty cool, actually sort of menacing and scary. Surprising that this is actually an Autobot. If I put this in front of you without the packaging or the name, you might actually guess, is this a Decepticon or Predacon? And I wouldn't be surprised if people said that. I really do like the new head sculpt. Of course, no new mold changes, but the design of it looks really cool. The nice green and gunmetal gray looks really cool in my opinion. And of course, the accessory not being the best one, but of course, exactly the same sculpt as the other versions with Cheetor and Shadow Panther, so we were expecting this scythe tail weapon. It looks okay. My complaint is I wish the blade stood out a little bit more. It's the exact same color as the figure, just gray. I wish it was like red, yellow, or maybe black. I think it could stand out more like Cheetor's. His blade is blue, so it's a little bit more defined and obvious, and it looks pretty cool. Transformation, very simple, exactly like the other versions, so you pretty much know it by heart. If you have any other versions like I do, like Cheetor and Shadow Panther, you could do it in your sleep. Animal mode, or Panther, or Cheetah mode, I think is okay. Good articulation, the back legs and the front legs. My complaint with articulation with the alt mode is there is no head articulation. That was a problem that really plagued the other versions. When Cheetor first came out, a lot of people really didn't like that there was absolutely no articulation in the head, of course, but the mouth opening, but that's not even that much. But overall, really cool looking animal mode, very actually menacing with the red eyes. Overall looks pretty cool. And just going back to the robot articulation, the robot mode, exactly the same as the other versions. I think it's perfectly fine. The leg kicking back, it does slightly have a limited angle because there is a little panel there, so you can't do that as good, but overall pretty good articulation. Waist rotation, arms pretty good. Of course there is the little side panels which can limit it a little bit, but of course we were all expecting that because this is the 4th version of this mold. So overall it's kind of a mixed bag. It's an okay figure. It's not a bad one. I would still suggest to pick it up because appearance-wise and on a shelf, it looks pretty cool, just like Rhinox. I have several problems with the Rhinox figure. Transformation's a huge pain, but overall, as appearance-wise, I think they definitely nailed Rhinox, and I think they definitely nailed this figure too. So definitely pick it up. It's only like $20. It's a pretty cool exclusive. Definitely probably the least interesting of the 3 Walmart exclusives, I would say, because the other 2 have brand new head sculpts and really cool paint apps. This one doesn't have any new molding pieces, which is unfortunate, but still a pretty cool figure for just $25. So hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you next.